which was a terrible. It was a terrible natural disaster because it claimed lots and lots of lives. I believe in the hundreds of thousands of lives it claimed. And there's still the effects of it still being felt in in places around the world up to this day. Um, but climate change for me didn't start happening till after the 2010, you know, probably about 2012, you know, when we started experiencing really harsh weather conditions and I'm not talking not necessarily disasters, not necessarily natural disasters, but a harsh change in the weather. With we either have too much rain or too much sunshine in certain parts of the world, and then wildfires, which is a natural disaster. But then yeah, so I'm still not very convinced, but I am 50-50 now.
50-50. Whereas before you were dead
I was
against it being
I was
being
I was
real.
100% in denial,
Yeah.
100% in denial. But now I'm
So
50.
was it just the good weather in the spring of 2020 when we were all sort of locked down, weren't we? Is that what made you think, well, there's not many cars about, all the usual traveling facilities aren't working. So maybe, as I think you said, that the planet had a chance to sort of take a breath and go back to what it should be. Is that what changed your opinion?
That's exactly what changed my opinion.
But not completely. Not
No,
completely.
not completely.
No, no.
Yeah.
Apparently, if I think it was in 2020, scientists reckoned that 1% of the world of the Earth was uninhabitable because of extreme weather. I mean, I think they probably meant the heat, say in parts of, I don't know, Africa and elsewhere, but they may also have meant the icy conditions as well, where people can't really thrive. So that's 1% of the Earth, they reckoned in 2020. But they anticipate by 2050, 20% of the Earth will be uninhabitable because
Wow.
of the growth of the temperature. And we know from what they've said for a long time now that just a 1 or 1.5 degree increase in the temperature can make a lot of places uninhabitable. Now, it's interesting because I'm a bit like you. I've always been a bit cynical, suspicious of the facts. We're told scientists say this, scientists say that. And it's not always easy, I've discovered before, to find out what percentage of scientists actually agree or believe anything. I mean, there will always be some scientists or anybody else, doctors, etc., who will think differently to the main crowd, if you like. So it's difficult to find out when they say scientists think this. It won't be 100%, but it could be 80 or 90%. I don't know. But
Mm.
that's what they think, that come 2050, 20% of the Earth, which is a huge increase on 1%, obviously, will be uninhabitable, which will kind of produce more massive movement of populations, as we're probably seeing now, perhaps partly due to weather conditions or whatever. I mean, the interesting part for me about this is the last ice age. Do you know how far back that was? Because periodically the Earth goes through what they call a glacial period, where for thousands of years they will have an ice age. Most things freeze. Any idea when the last one was? Idea when the last one was?
Um,
It was quite cold yesterday, wasn't it? But I don't think that counts.
I don't know, but probably about 500 years ago. Just guessing.
No, the last one actually finished about I think it was 11,700 years ago. So that was the
Wow.
last ice age. And generally, and why are there ice ages? Well, it's because of small changes in the Earth's orbit around the sun, which means different parts don't get the full sunshine effects for quite long periods. Just ripples in the Earth's orbit, and that generates these glacial periods. The periods between ice ages is called, I think, the interglacial period, and that normally is about 10,000 years. So if the last one, well, it was 11,700 years ago, well, we're overdue by about 1,700 years another ice age. Now, what
All
we're
right.
saying now, of course, is that the Earth is warming up. And the interesting thing is here, from what I've researched in the past, a majority of scientists do believe that our next ice age won't happen for possibly 50,000 years, right? Not another, well, it's overdue. An ice age, if you look it up, if you Google it or anything else, it will say technically it is overdue, although there can be, variations of a few thousand years. So it may not just be down to what we call global warming. But so they think it could be another 50,000 years. And as I say, the interesting thing is the reason they think for that is these greenhouse gas effects, which is principally the creation of CO2, carbon dioxide, from man-made activity. And we know, think of the activity there is even now with things like petrol. Okay, unleaded petrol helps, and all the other things, aeroplanes flying about, all the things we generate fuel from, generate heat, light, energy, and that's created this huge increase basically in the Earth's temperature. Now that does mean apparently that in itself, human activity, I think a majority of scientists believe, will stop an ice age occurring for about 50,000 years, up to another 50,000 or even more years. Now, that to me says something there is very credible about climate change, because if that's the principal reason that very learned and knowledgeable, doctors, scientists, these people, these very brilliant people, really, if they're saying in the majority this is delaying the next climate change, the next ice age, then I think probably there.